Hi guys, I am Amanda from the blog Simply Maggie, where I bring you all of the latest arm knitting tutorials and patterns. And today I'm going to teach you how to arm knit stripes. So if you wanted to make a blanket with stripes or a scarf of some sort with stripes, then you can use this tutorial to learn how to do that. Today I'm going to teach you how to make a scarf, an infinity scarf, and we're going to be using 2 skeins of yarn. The yarn that we're going to be using is Premier Yarn's Mega Tweed, and this one is in the color, cream tweed. Okay, so we have 1 skein of that, and we're also going to be using this one here, which is the Mega Tweed from Premier Yarns in the color brown tweed. Okay, so we have 2 skeins of yarn in contrasting colors, and that's it. That's all you need, just yarn and your arms. And I'm going to go ahead and get right into the tutorial for you guys. I have about a 3-foot tail. Okay, so pull out about a 3-foot tail, and now we're going to make a slip knot. So to make a slip knot, you want to drape the yarn over your hand, pinch those 2 sides together, and twist and grab the working yarn, which is the yarn that is attached to this skein of yarn. So you can go ahead and slide that slip knot right onto your arm, and that slip knot is going to count as your first stitch. So now we're going to begin casting on our stitches, and I'll show you how to hold the working yarn and the tail of yarn to cast on your stitches. Place the working yarn strand over your index finger and in between your index and middle finger, and then you're going to hold it in place with your ring finger and your pinky. And then for the tail, you're going to also put that under your ring finger and your pinky, and you're going to take your thumb and go through the inside and wrap it around the outside of your thumb. So I'll show you that one more time. You're going to take your thumb, go through the inside of that and wrap the yarn around the outside, and then twist your hand so that it's facing you. Now you're going to take your index finger on your right hand. You're going to go under this first strand, over this one, and grab the one in the back. So go under, over, grab that strand in the back, and pull it up, creating a new loop, and you're going to slide that onto your arm. Okay? So that's 2. Hold the working yarn in the tail the way I showed you, and we're going to do that again. We're going to go under, over, and grab that one with our index finger. So go under, over the one in the middle, and grab the one in the back, pulling it up, creating that new loop there, which is a new stitch, and put it onto your right arm. Do that 2 more times. Under, over, grab the one in the back, pull it up, creating a new loop, and place it onto your right arm. Under, over, and grab. So under, over the one in the middle, and grab that one in the back, creating a new loop, and place that onto your arm. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stitches. So let's begin arm knitting our rows. To arm knit your first stitch, you're going to hold the working yarn in your right hand. You're going to take that first stitch, pull it off your hand and over that strand of yarn while still holding on to it with your right hand. So you now have this new loop here. You're going to turn that towards yourself, okay, and slide that onto your left arm, And now to tighten this first stitch can kind of be tricky, so you want to push up on this knot here while pulling on the working yarn. So tighten that up as much as you can. And then we're going to move on to our second stitch. So again, hold the working yarn in your right hand. Take that next stitch and you're going to pull it over and off of your hand while still holding on to that working yarn. Okay, so now you've created this new loop here. You're going to slide that right onto your left arm just like that. So now you've knit 2 stitches, and go ahead and tighten that up just by pulling the working yarn. And do that to your next stitch. Hold the working yarn in your right hand. Pull the next stitch over and off, creating this new loop. You're going to turn that towards yourself and place that onto your left arm. Tighten it up. You're going to want to keep everything as tight as you can because that will make the scarf look fuller with smaller holes. And let's go ahead and knit our next stitch. So hold the working yarn in your right hand. Pull the next stitch over and off while still holding the working yarn. Put this new stitch onto your left arm. Tighten it up. And go ahead and do that to your last stitch there. So we've knit our first row, and now we want to move on to our second row. So we have all the stitches on our left arm, and we're going to basically do the same thing and move them all over to our right arm, knitting our second row. So hold the working yarn in your left hand this time. You're going to take the first stitch and pull it over and off of your hand while still holding the working yarn. So you have this new loop here. Turn that towards yourself and place it onto your right arm. You're going to tighten this stitch up by pulling on the working yarn and pushing up this knot. You only have to do that with the first stitch of each row. The other ones you can just tighten by pulling on the working yarn. So now we want to move on to our second stitch. Hold the working yarn in your left hand. Take that second stitch and pull it over and off of your arm, your hand. And now you have this new loop here. So you're going to turn that towards yourself and place it onto your right arm. Tighten that up as much as you can. And do that again with the third stitch. Pull it over and off while holding the working yarn in your left hand. And place that onto your right arm. And we'll do the last two. Over and off. Place it on your right arm. Over and off. Place it on your right arm. And it's not going to look like much, okay? But once you keep knitting, it will start to look more like a scarf and it'll be nice and full. So let's do one more row with the white. So again, hold the working yarn in your right hand this time. Pull that first stitch over and off, creating a new loop. Turn that towards yourself and place it onto your left arm this time. Push up that knot while pulling the working yarn. Okay, next stitch. Pull it over and off, creating a new stitch, and place it on your left arm. Over and off, flip it over, and last one. So we've knit 3 rows, and now what we're going to do is take a pair of scissors, and we're going to cut this about 2 inches away from this strand here. So, or this stitch I should say. You can drop the white yarn for now, and we're going to take our skein of the brown tweed yarn. We're going to grab that strand from the outside of the skein, and we're going to tie a basic double knot here so it doesn't come undone. So we have our 2 strands. Tie a basic knot the best you can with your other arm being tied up with yarn. And pull that as tight as you can. And I'm going to do that one more time. Alright, so we have these little extra pieces of yarn here that we can trim up. So go ahead and cut those, leaving about 1/4 of an inch there. That way it doesn't come undone. So that is what we have for a knot. And now we can begin our knitting with our brown yarn. So we have all the stitches on our left arm now, and we're going to go ahead and knit 3 rows with the brown. So pull that first strand over and off of your hand, holding the working yarn, and place it onto your right arm. So now you can see we're creating stitches with the brown. And then go ahead and do that with the second stitch, pull it over and off, creating a new loop. Tighten it up. Remember to keep this as tight as you can. And again, pull it over and off, creating a new loop. Place it onto your right arm. Pull it over and off. and move on to our second row with the brown and just begin knitting your next row. And now we're going to knit one more row with the brown. This will be our third row using this color. So as you can see here, we have a section of white yarn and we have a section of brown yarn. And now we're going to switch back to white. We've done our 3 rows of brown. We're going to cut our yarn, again, about 2 to 3 inches away from that stitch. And we're going to tie a basic knot again. Okay, pull that as tight as you can and trim the excess with your scissors. And start knitting with your white yarn. So we're going to do 3 rows with the white. And 3. So now you can see that we have 2 sections of white and 1 section of brown. We're going to switch back to our brown yarn, so go ahead and cut the white about 3 inches from the last stitch. Drop that, pick up the brown strand and tie a knot. Pull it tight, cut the excess. And these knots aren't even noticeable when you're looking at the scarf. So now we're going to go ahead and knit 3 rows with our brown yarn. Okay, so that was 3 rows of brown. Now we're just going to keep alternating from brown to the cream color, knitting 3 rows at a time, and you can make the scarf as long as you want. So my scarf is as long as I would like it. So I'm going to go ahead and count how many rows I've done because I didn't keep track. We did sections of 3 rows. So we have 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, 24, 27, 30, 33, 36, 39, and 42. So I've done 42 rows all together. That gave me a scarf long enough to wrap around 3 times, so it's nice and chunky and warm. And now I'm going to show you how to end your scarf. And to end your scarf, you're going to bind off. So go ahead and knit the first 2 stitches over to your other arm like you were doing before. And then you're going to take that first stitch and pull it over. Now when binding off, you only want to tighten up just a little bit because if you tighten too much, you're going to have one skinny end of your scarf. And you don't want that. So go ahead and knit another stitch. Take that first stitch again, pull it over and off, and tighten just a little. Knit one more. Pull that first stitch over the second one and off of your hand, and tighten just a little bit. Knit the next stitch. Pull this one over and off of your hand and tighten. And then with this last stitch, you're going to take this working yarn, cut it about a foot away, pull that last stitch over and off, and pull the working yarn all the way through, okay? And pull that tight to make a knot. And then there you have the end of your scarf. Okay? Now I'm going to show you how to sew the two ends of the scarf together. Okay, so we're going to bring the two ends of the scarf together. And make sure your scarf is inside out. We're going to sew it inside out. Okay? And when you ended your scarf, your last 3 rows should have been the contrast color to what you started your scarf with. So now we have our ends lined up here. We're going to take that tail that we had at the beginning of our scarf, and we're going to use that to sew the ends together. So what I'm going to do is put my finger here through the first, hopefully you can see this, stitch here. Okay, so put your finger through there, and then on the opposite side of the scarf, put your finger through that first stitch. And then you're going to take this yarn and pull it through there. Just like that. And then we're going to go through the next stitch on both ends. So you have that stitch and that one. Pull that through. On this last stitch, we're going to pull this working yarn only halfway through, creating this new loop here. And then we're going to take the tail and pull that through to create a knot, and pull it as tight as you can. So now we have the tail from the end of our scarf and the tail from the beginning of our scarf here, and we're going to weave those in. To weave those in, you're going to go under like this strand, and I like to do 3 strands. So let's go ahead and pull it under those 3. Okay, so pull it under that one. I like to do that by sticking my index finger under there, grabbing those 2 strands, pulling it through. Right, and we're going to do one more. So this strand here we'll do. Pull that through. Okay, and then you can go ahead and cut those about 1 inch away. And you have your seam. Okay, and now I'm going to show you what I have here. Alright guys, so this is what we have. I made it long enough to wrap around 3 times, so we have these 3 different sections here of our cream and brown stripes. So if you guys want the written instructions, I will put the link to my blog down below, simplymaggie.com, and just go under knit and crochet and you can find the pattern there along with all of my other arm knitting tutorials. And that's it guys. I hope you liked this video, and I'll be back soon with more patterns, so be sure to subscribe and like this video if you found it helpful. Alright, thanks for watching guys. Bye! I think I'm eating yarn.